Welcome back to the WTF Sunderland podcast as we run over a magnificent comeback win on Wearside that saw us bounce back from 2-0 down to beat Bournemouth 3-2 at the Stadium of Light. I'm just about dried out. I'm back home in Glasgow and I'm rather jet lagged, I'm not going to lie. I've just got Vic in my eye, but there's absolutely nothing that is going to wipe the smile off my face or a guest's face this evening. So I'll just get them introduced and we'll get straight into it. First and foremost, in the order that I see them, it is Ian Dobson. Ian, you alright?
Good mate, yeah. A very, very good day all round, and just very, very content and feeling very ethical today. So
Yeah, yeah, pretty much the same. Ross, how are you feeling? You alright?
Yeah, I've finally thawed out and dried up because I got stuck in the rain coming home, which was an absolute nightmare. Tell you what, we'll never be sponsored by Nexus or Go North East, otherwise I'll leave. Disgrace. Just putting it out there, getting. But yeah, just overall, we're on about the game. Just unbelievable, wasn't it? Just an absolute unbelievable day at the stadium. Like one of the best Premier League games I think I've witnessed.
My favourite Sunderland Premier League game since, off the top of my head, Spurs 3-1 when Zenden scored that volley. That was also just a really good game of football, but I think today probably tops it. It's just been a brilliant season. Love going to the games, and there's plenty to talk about why we loved it. We'll get into it, but before I do, Sophie, how you feel now? You assume you're in the same mood as us.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very, very happy. Happy to be on. Happy to be talking about Sunderland wins. So you can't complain, can you?
By the way, the Vic I've got in my eyes really hurting, so if I start winking at you all right, I'm really sorry. Like, I proper got Vic in my hand, and I will fuck that up. But here we are. No editing tonight. Sophie, I'll stick with you. Like a mad game. Like, just on paper. I'll get into it later on, but I had friends over from Chicago today, fans for like 15 years, the first time I've ever been. An amazing experience to see me seeing them. But like, one of the big things to me was, like, they went 2-0 down after 16 minutes, and I was like, oh God. But then when we got one back and then we realised, I said, look, I says, you're not a neutral. I says, but if you were, it's a hell of a game this. I just feel like the game was great. Obviously, we get the win. Some really big performances that we'll get into, but we've had a few hours to sort of chill out and maybe gorge on the highlights a little bit. How do you sum it up? Because that was one of the best games the stadium I've seen.
Yeah, I've had a few hours to decompress because I felt like I was riding a wave of just an absolute high because it was such a mad game of football. You know what? I just think maybe in the way I summed it up was the first 20 minutes. I think we just shit ourselves a little bit. I don't know for what reason we were just really poor. And that second half, I mean, we got the penalty in that, but that second half, this team doesn't know when they beat. And that's been something that we see under Reggie for probably since he's took over. You know what? We fight till the end. That whole thing, isn't it? Till the end. And you know what? That's what we love to see as Sunderland fans is the trying, the effort. You know what? It wasn't a perfect performance, far from it. But we've got the result and it's a results business and that's all that matters.
I agree with you on that. I think I said today when we went 2-0 down, I went, well, look, if they're going to score two goals, it's the best time for that to score them. I went, because if they think they've won it at this point, then got another thing coming. You could feel it with the crowd. The crowd were like, nah, it's not done yet. And I think it's probably an embodiment of what they're seeing on the pitches. And I feel that the team's an embodiment of the fan base and what we like. And I know it's quite cliche, but lots of quality, lots of talent, but like an attitude that kind of embodies what Sunderland's about for me. And I know we're all different individuals and people, but we do have a collective, cohesive feeling behind Sunderland that's been there for over 100 years. And I feel like this team embodies it. And the crowd respond to that with the way they are. But Ross, I'll come to you next. Like, I'll go in the reverse order. Like, it was one of the best games the Stadium Light has seen. Great game for a neutral, but from a Sunderland fan's perspective, great because, look, how often do you come back from 3-2 behind? In the Premier League, we never have. The first time since Swansea last season. But yeah, look, there's maybe bigger games to come, but that was one of the best.
Yeah, it was special, wasn't it? And some quality goals as well. You know what I mean? Like some real quality goals. To concede the goals that we did, I was at half time. I was actually opposite to you, Sophie. I was going. I don't actually think we've played that bad to be 2-0 down here. Two at the time when obviously we got the penalty back. But it was just too. It was what it just epitomised the Premier League so far that you make one mistake in this league and you get punished. And it was, the Mukulele slip so unlucky to start off with for the move that came. But yeah, once we got into it, I just felt the midfield were brilliant today. They really were. Traore, bless him, he's been grafting so hard. He was probably our best player at Fulham last week, I think we mentioned. And then it just wasn't coming off first half. And me and Sophie will drop ourselves in the group chat. We were like, maybe it's time to get him off, bring Mundell or Dinger on the right and mix it around, put Talby there. But he came out second half and he was a man possessed that first 20 minutes. And it was a great finish. And it just felt like the momentum was always with us. And I don't know if it's just because of the Premier League or if it's just the belief in the team with Reggie, the Tilly End stuff. But normally you're 2-0 down. The stadium are like a bit like, oh, wait. We're now what's happening here. But it never once felt like that today. I always felt like, right, we get the next goal here, it's game on. I don't know why, and I think the whole stadium felt that way. And I think it's just like we're on a journey together. I've never seen the fan base so connected with the players on the pitch and the team. It's like we are. I know, like I'm pulling out all the cliches here, but it does feel like we're as one, and we're with them even when things aren't going our way. We'll back them all the way because we know that, let's be honest, can I swear the bollocks on them is unbelievable. As you say, you know what I mean? Like we're never defeated and we're always in the game, even when we're not playing well. And when you've got a leader like Xhaka in there, it's so easy for the rest to follow.
Can't believe you just asked if you can swear in a podcast you've been on for the best part of 3 years, Ross.
I thought you had to have so many like minutes in before YouTube gives it like funny.
Yeah,
Or is that,
if you want to make money.
well, if anybody would like to sponsor the WTF Sunderland podcast, please get in touch via DMs.
And just pay me directly. Thanks, God, I do all the editing. So, no, I agree with you on a lot of points there. I don't think it's ever been more connected than it is now. And I know it's easy to say sort of 4 months into a season and after the last 6 months we've had with the playoffs and that. But I don't even, when you're a kid, you romanticize football anyway. And I think I definitely romanticize the Quinn and the Phillips era and Summerby and Johnson and all that. And rightly so, because they were amazing footballers. Phillips will still be the best striker I'll ever see play for Sunderland probably in my entire lifetime. But I don't even feel it was like that connected then. Not as connected as this, if you know what I mean. It feels like you're right in what you're saying with the two goals going in. So Tyler Adams scores from basically the halfway line. I think it was just outside the D. At that point, you go, oh, bloody Sunderland. And nobody did it. Nobody went, oh, it was kind of like, shit. Okay, we're going to have to like pull it out here to get something back. But then it was like, right, we've got 70 odd minutes. Just get at them. Go for it. And I thought some of the performances were excellent. I think there's a particular player that was outstanding today who I've mentioned many times, but since you spoke about him, I said the other week there seemed to be a bit of sort of dislike toward Traore. I've never really had that. I think he's got a bit, and talking about romanticising things, I loved Stefan Sessegnon, his skills, his talent, and everything that he did. But he did have boots made of lead, and I feel like Traore's got a little bit of like lead boots, a little bit. And then we said that today, we went, oh, if he just had a bit more of a final ball, and then he scored straight away as soon as I said it, because we were talking about it at half time. I thought he just never stops. I think he gets us up the pitch. I do think he creates stuff. I think I can understand why he's been brought in. And I think you talk about recruitment, and we talk about these other players that have been brought in. But Traore cost us 2.6 million. He's basically paid that back today. That's my cat crying, by the way. He also doesn't agree with me on Bertrand Traore by the sounds of it. But look, tons of people to pick out today, Ian. Who would be the players or a player that you would pick out as sort of your star man today, Ian? Because I think there was a few.
There was a few. And I speak about him every week, pretty much it feels like now. But Enzo, again, I've said he's been our best player, sort of aside from probably Xhaka. He's the given, but it feels like today was like a proper coming out performance. It was like a welcome to the party, pal kind of thing. He was just superb. I remember he gave the ball away with it. He tried to sort of play a pass inside, went straight to them in our own half, which is a bit dangerous. But he's just different gravy for how people called him out and said he wasn't doing the business in the Championship last season. He just makes it look so easy. He's just so good. I thought he was superb. I think we're a better team with Alderete there, to be honest. Having the balance with the left-sided centre half, it's the way to go. So long may it continue. And then Trey Hume came on and Humed someone at the end. So you've got to be happy with that, haven't you? So
Yeah, like people talk about Semenyo today. Right? If I'm going to dig anyone out, I love him for the record. I think Nordy's great, but I thought Nordy was a little bit like sheepish with Semenyo. Then Hume comes on and just belted straight into someone and belted into someone again a few minutes later. Then that tackle at the end, and I was just like, yeah, that's kind of what you want pretty much. But I wholeheartedly agree on Enzo. We were talking about it today at the game with the lads behind Craig and Ross, and I think outside of Xhaka, I don't think there's been many better than Enzo this season. I think he was poor at Fulham last week, but I think he's been a 7 out of 10 minimum every single week. Today was a 9. He was all over the pitch in his more natural position, which we've kind of said, is he better on the wing? He's not been too bad on the wing this season, but I think today we see what he brings to the team in that number 10 role. And, there's people who were saying that he wasn't that good in the Championship and stuff like that. I sound, me bother. Looks all right to me in the Premier League, so go figure with that one. But plenty of people to pick out. Was anyone that stood out for you, Sophie, outside of the players mentioned? Because, again, it was another round of performances that were really good, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I think it was Ronaldo for me. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. I'm a massive Ronaldo fan. I think that his sheer pace, not only on the ball but off the ball, especially when we've lost the ball and immediately he's back in position. I think that his defensive awareness is brilliant and he's a great outlet for attack. And I thought he was fantastic. But like what you said, there's so many players you could have picked today, especially the players that came on. We haven't even spoken about Robbie, who I personally think is the real deal. And when he came on, he can hold up the ball, he can score goals, which is great. And you know what? He can run as well. You don't realise. I mean, he's a big lad, but I think there was an opportunity where he was pretty much clean through, and I think he hit it. It was probably a bit too soft when he should have squared it across. And yeah, I just think he was fantastic when he came on and made an impact, as did all the subs, really.
Yeah, I thought the subs were good today. I thought when they came on, it was maybe the right time to bring them on, and the impact they had indicated that it was. It was I don't know if we changed formation or not. I feel like we did. I feel like we did change formation a little bit. At least we changed players around a tad. But I felt when Hume came on, it added something. I don't know what, but Hume came on, did really well. But Broby, again, there's a lot of good performances to pick out. I thought Wilson was quite quiet today. It's been a few games without a goal. Broby comes on and I think you look at him and go, he can hold the ball up, but he was running. He was running the channels. He was running the lines. He was holding the ball up. His goal's excellent. His goal's excellent. It's a striker's goal. Cross in on his head, bang. Like no argument, straight in the back of the net. I think he's arguably earned a start, at least in one of the next two games. And I think if he causes any problems for Liverpool and Man City, then there's a big home game on the horizon, which I'm sure some of us haven't forgot about, where he'll fancy getting in. But I thought Broby was excellent. I thought he played really, really well today. I think Mundle had a really good game when he came on. I kind of half forgot that he was there because he's been injured for quite a bit. But I'm a huge fan of Mundle. I thought when he came on, he gave us that pace upfield as well when we were kind of, I would say he was sitting back, but obviously they hit the bar and I think Bournemouth played well, to be honest. I thought Bournemouth were a decent side. I think they zipped the ball around quite nicely. But I felt Mundle was like a really good outlet, and it's another option that you've got on that left wing alongside, well, what you got, the Faye's been there mainly. Talby started there today. Adingra's still just sitting on the bench, £24 million player there that just sits on the bench for us. But Ross, I wanted to talk about resilience, I suppose. Me and Dave bang on about it quite a bit. When we lose, it feels like Dave or me will go, well, that's about how we respond, which is a bit cliche, but it's because of how well the team has responded. And Dave always goes back to when Alex Neil got the job. And we're talking a few seasons ago now, what's that, 4 or 5 seasons? Since then, the different versions of this football team seem to have had a pair of bollocks that can respond and live to fight another day when they've had a bit of a setback. In the main, I know there's been periods when that hasn't been the case, but how impressive is it that we've seemed to somehow build this resilience within the team that if we're going to lose 2 games in a row, it's going to take something, because it felt like today they refused to get beat. And I think that comes off the back of the fact that not the games we've got ahead. They knew that the Fulham game and the Fulham result wasn't good enough. They knew they needed something today. And every time there's been a question asked, like a defeat, Man United, Burnley, Fulham, the response has been excellent, but they responded in game today as well for a little bit of extra resilience, We can talk about quality. We can talk about them being like a Sunderland team that we want to see as a fan base. But there's something to be said for the response and the resilience that they have, isn't there?
Oh, 100%. And it's a culture, isn't it, really? It all stems from on the
That's the
training
word I was
pitch.
looking for, culture. You could tell I was struggling with jet lag.
Blame the jet lag. Why not? No, definitely. It's the culture that's been embedded into the whole club. Really, I'd argue since Reggie's came in, there's never been a full game really where we've been battered or continuously battered where we've been fully at it. Let's be honest. The games last season at the end don't count. And now we've got the added quality to go with the philosophy and the culture that's been brought in by Labrie, and he's added to it. You know, we haven't just stood still on the of course on the pitch we've improved, but also off the pitch we've clearly invested in getting good coaches who've been world class worldwide. Let's be honest, the set piece coach, he's had a good start as well. You know, we think of everybody's been saying how good we've been from set pieces. This new set piece coach came in, and to be fair, other than the Ballard header last year, I can't even remember us scoring from a corner. So yeah, all that stuff, it's all just continuous improvement. And once you get that in your mindset that, look, we're not just here to make the numbers, we're not just going to be happy. Like, even today, we're 3-2 up, and he puts 8 minutes up, and you do think, oh, God, 8 minutes, you're taking the piss there, ref. Like you did most all the game. But what I loved about it is we got a free kick, and normally I'd be like, get it, and anybody else would be, get it in the corner, which it was near the end when Jack went on his merry little dance. But what I loved was our three centre halves went up from it for the free kick, and we were like, "Get the fourth. We'll kill it off then." Just that kind of killer mentality. It's just throughout. Obviously, Jack is the leader, but I think we've got so many players on the pitch who drive standards. Like he's a bit mental, Ronaldo. Let's be honest. He's an absolute heat case. Some
Like
things he does,
a lovely level of mental.
yeah. But then he just like he's just so like he drives forward. He takes us up the pitch. And you know, you've got to be a good defender to play for Simeone. I always say that. And today, I think it was right near the end where they try to skin past him and he just get his foot in, you know, and it just takes that pressure off. And but yeah, I've kind of went on a bit of a roundabout way of it, but it just shows that the culture's embedded within. No matter who plays, like even today, '09 wasn't in the squad, which you know is a big call for considering he's been in every squad since he's came back. But he was at the tunnel waiting to congratulate all the lads who came in.
He was hugging
The,
Enzo, lifting him up in the
yeah,
air.
so little stuff like that, you know, it makes a massive difference throughout, and clearly shows that not only is the culture good from the management within, but players have bought into it, and those who aren't playing, you know, you didn't want people stinking the place out or causing a stench. You know what I mean? It can happen at times when players aren't getting a game or cannot be asked. The standards in training have got to be up there. The whole squad's going to be needed as we're going to have a lot of games. We're losing a lot of players. It's all been mentioned. We've all went over it 100 times. But yeah, I think just to have that never see a die attitude, especially at home, like no team's going to look forward to Sunderland away, not at all, because we've proved it now. Even when you're 2-0 up and we're having an off day, you can still get beat. Like if you told a Bournemouth fan after 20 minutes you're going to lose this 3-2, they've gone, "What the fuck's happened?" You know what I mean? Like it's massive, and we've got game changers off the bench now as well. We've got a squad where even if it's not working, we've got options to change it. And Reggie showed today we can play a back four, back five. It is worth mentioning that Hume did come on and play right wing. I need to put that out there. He went right wing, 100%. Then we scored, and then we went to a back five because the started lined up. Because we had a conversation about it, but he actually did well at right wing as well.
Did all right.
Imagine last season if he went. By the way, Trey Hume's going to come off the bench in the Premier League as a right winger, and he's going to make a great impact. He would have been like bloody hell, right wing. It's just mental. It is. It's just mental. And I think to see the rise where we've come from in such a short space of time, sometimes you've just got to take a step back and just like think, wow, mint, but also embrace it and don't don't feel like you can't enjoy it because oh well, you know it's not gonna last forever. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Even if we drop a bit, just to have this start the season, we're 11 points clear of relegation, and it's not even December.
I think I
You
read a
would have,
stat today that I think if we won today, we had matched Ipswich's point total from the whole of last season. And I think if we win another one, we match, or we win a couple more, we're close to like matching like the whole of the relegated teams at some point. So we're not that far off.
yeah. honestly just absolutely solid. And I mentioned it last week just to get a bit of perspective when I was talking to the lads about the Fulham defeat. Leeds and Burnley, God, what they do to sort of be with us.
You look at Leeds as well, right? And talk about that till the end, never say die attitude. Leeds keep losing a lot of games late on. That's big. That's big.
Definitely, definitely, and it's just the manner they do it as well, isn't it? Like the performance at Man City away looks really good. You know what I mean? Looks like they've given a good game, but they've still lost. And like Bournemouth at home was one where I'm sure they were winning 2-1 with like 10 seconds to go. They drew 2-2. We're flipping it the other way. So yeah, it's just class, and everything's just. I know we're just chatting shit, really, aren't we? Saying, "Oh, it's mint, it's class," but it is.
It is.
It's absolutely mint, and it's an absolute pleasure to go to the games. Normally, I go out for the make a day of it. I still didn't make a day of it. I was there and back, but I still those 90 minutes was just mint, and everyone around you is just enjoying it for what it is, and everyone's just walking out the ground. The place is jumping.
And it was horrible weather. Like the weather was disgusting. But you talk about that, the feeling around Sunderland. Like I said before, I was with two people, Madeline and Dawson today, who came from Chicago to Fulham last week and went to the game there. And they've never been to the stadium, like follow every game. And just to see two people who don't get the experience I get every week. Look, I think people knew I was in Toronto last week. I went to see my basketball team and see my basketball team 3 days. You know, it's not my home team, but seeing those 3 games were amazing. It's hard to imagine it the other way around because I'm Sunderland born and bred. Like I go to Sunderland every week. I'm used to it. I know how good it is, and I'm loving it at the moment. But at the same time, I get the luxury of seeing it every week. Seeing it through the prism of someone else's eyes who'd never seen it, and then realizing how amazing it is and how great it's feeling at the moment. Like I could just see them. It was like, I mean, they're adults, but you could see it was like they had like a kid like wonder in their eyes when they were seeing like the songs we were singing, the way we were playing, the way that we were reacting to stuff at the end, like the way that Jack celebrated with the fans and his whole kind of fist punch in the air. Like I don't feel like there's just been times that is good to be as a Sunderland fan. Are times going to get tough? I mean, people seem absolutely desperate for us to fall off, which I guess is the case. But like at some point we're going to lose 2 games in a row, 3 games in a row. I don't know. It could be soon. Who knows? But I don't feel the fan base are going to fall off. And ultimately, it doesn't matter what other people think about us, whether they think we're good, we're bad. There sometimes seems to be a bit of a, not an obsession, but like I want to, like we want more credit, we deserve more credit. It doesn't matter because we know how good we are. We know what we're building here. We know that if there's a setback, we'll still be behind them. The club as a whole is just so united and it feels bloody brilliant. Ian, look, I feel like I haven't spoke to you for half an hour here. I definitely have. But it's funny, Sophie was saying before about us being poor in the first sort of 16 minutes, and Ross saying he felt we were coming back into it. I probably veer more towards the Ross side of thinking with that. When that second goal went in, I don't know what it was, but like I said before about the rest of the crowd, I went, if you think you've won that, it's 2-0. Got nothing coming there. I always felt we were going to win today's game, and I don't know why. Did you have a similar feeling to that, or was that just me?
I've mentioned it a few times, mate. Let us get to an hour in and let Lebreeze get half time out the way before you see how the game's going to go. And like I say, last season, Swansea away, um, Borough away, just makes little changes, little tweaks. I don't know what he did today because I missed the first 5 minutes of the second half, so I didn't say I don't know what he changed or what he moved around. I'm not that great at analysing stuff like that. I just man kick ball in goal, Ian jump kind of thing. But you've got to. He's earned his stripes. You've got to give him time. And I know I didn't think we played too badly first half. To be fair, I thought we were spot on. We just made 2 mistakes and they scored, and that's what happens in the Premier League. I was scared about the game because I know how good Bournemouth are. Semenyo, their front three in the midfield are great, and they're a good team. So it wasn't a total shock when we were 2-0 down. I was like, it's the Premier League. This is what everyone told us was going to happen. But what no one knows, or no one sort of counts on, is us coming back and doing that to teams, which we shouldn't be doing. We shouldn't be winning games like that. I know it's only Bournemouth, but we shouldn't be coming from 2-0 down after finishing 24 points behind the two promoted teams. We shouldn't be coming from 2-0 down against an established Premier League team to win and beat looking comfortable when we did it. It was just superb.
Yeah, I honestly I felt confident today. Like at home, I feel like we're a challenge for anyone. Do I think we'll
Mm.
lose a game at some point this season at home? Aye, it's the Premier League. That's just the way the world works. But I feel like most teams will come to the Stadium Light and have a tough game against us, and probably will be happy to take away a point. And that's just such a massive compliment because I don't feel like teams will feel the same way about Leeds. I think Burnley, arguably, maybe some teams will, but there'll be a lot of teams that won't be happy with that. There'll be a lot of teams that come to the Stadium and like, look at Arsenal, best team in the country by an absolute mile. The next day, there was a lot of people saying actually it was a good point for Arsenal, based on like the players they had out, how Sunderland are playing, how difficult it is to go there. But talking about that Arsenal game, actually, there's one thing I wanted to mention, Sophie. Dan Ballard's 100th game today for Sunderland. For me, modern day legend, cult hero, but excellent again today, and just someone who's made just a brilliant step up. And let's not forget, he cost just £2 million. How bloody brilliant of a signing has he been over the past 3, 4 years?
You know what? He's absolutely fantastic. He's just fantastic. That's the only way I've. He's a colossal at the back. And I thought that, funnily enough, we were driving past the mural today. And I said to my dad, I went, he's just been immortalised. Like, he's just, like what you said, he's a cult hero, he's a club legend, and he'll always be that no matter what happens. I mean, it depends how he leaves. But I think that he's just took to the Premier League like a fish to water. He's just fitted in and slotted in so comfortably. And like today, I don't know if anyone else noticed, but he was almost making that step forward to try and tackle their aerial threats. And he was just fantastic. That's the only word I've got for Dan Ballard is that he's fantastic. But I tell you what, I actually think alongside Alderete, he looks fantastic because I think Alderete is so calm and composed on the ball as well. When he can strive into midfield and drive everyone else to go further up the pitch, it allows Dan Ballard, I think, to look more confident as well, and he opens up a bit more rather than we best pass this back to the keeper and recycle it. You know, it's always looking to play forward. So yeah, Dan Ballard's just lush, isn't he? I love him.
Yeah, good looking boy. Seen his kid? Looks exactly like him, by the way.
Oh, it
His,
does, yeah.
his Ben's like it's just Ballard's face on a small person's body. Which, look, I agree with Ballard. I think it was interesting that they did what Everton did, where they tried to let him have the ball, so he would be the one coming out from the back and passing it. But he actually was fine today. A couple of like long hopeful balls that were like just punts, but they were actually all pretty spot on. Got us up the field. I felt they changed that tactic because they were like, oh, actually he's doing all right. There was one point when he had like a little 1-2 and he started running through the midfield. I was like, we're expecting that with you boys, but I think we talked about him being maybe injury prone. I think it's easy to sort of forget that he was injured for a long time before he came back in for the playoffs because he had such a good playoffs and he had that goal that has made him a modern day legend. I don't think he can say he's not. Like how many players have murals about them? Same with Tommy Watson, like 5 games or something, but you'll always remember him. And I think Ballard's obviously stayed with us and gone on and scored some iconic goals already this season. But I think when you look at Ballard and what he's done and how when he stayed fit, we're a better team at the back. I love Alderete. I think Alderete is our best centre half by a country mile. I think the man just oozes like coolness, really. He's just now seems to phase him too much, and I certainly wouldn't like to fight him, as we've seen with some Americans getting tossed about the other week, which is quite funny. But looking forward, look, there's two, three, four big games coming up here, Ross. We've got Liverpool on Wednesday. There's a couple of listeners' questions here, and one of them is based on that, asking about what we should do, how we should view it, what we should go with it. Liverpool look vulnerable at the back with counter-attacks of late. Do we go back five and stick? Do we go stick with back five and stick with Isidore up front? The guy asking the question, which is Stu, says he's hoping not, but he wouldn't be surprised. And will we do the same at Man City too? I mean, I'll rephrase that question, Ross. How would you set up against Liverpool? Where do you go with this one?
I'd actually be quite happy to start at Liverpool the way we finish, but we'll probably Talbi in for Mundle and Traore obviously. And but I wouldn't mind. Or Traore even. Sorry, in the fair. I just feel like against Liverpool, if we write them off and go, we did this against Man United, and look how that ended up. Um, they've still got unbelievable talent. Slots under so much pressure. They're gonna, you know what I mean? They're gonna be well up for it, no matter what happens. Of course, we're recording this before they've played West Ham, so this could be defunct after they get beat at West Ham, and Slot's not even the manager on Wednesday. Steven Gerrard's interim management. How much would that would piss me off because I could see it happening. And that's why they get the boost. But yeah, I would honestly, you can't drop Traore. Um, you've kind of got to play all of the Afcon lads, haven't you? Let's be honest. Just keep them playing because we know we know we're going to lose them, so you need to get as much out of them as we can. Xhaka and Siddiqui again did really well not to get booked. If they're going to get booked, you want them to get booked on Wednesday night. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
please just get. I'm going to City next week, but just get booked as soon as you can, lads, because I really can't be asked with them
Yeah,
bastards having the luck of you being suspended.
or just fucking like take a tactical one, with like cut them into the guy and just boot the ball away. Oh,
Score and take your shirt off.
there you go. There's a
There you go.
perfect one. But yeah, I think if we're going to target one of the two, we've got to be realistic and say the way things are at the moment, Liverpool's probably going to be our best bet. City having a wobble against Leeds is probably the worst thing to happen to us. Them lead up because they're not going to be doing that again. They're not going to be taking the foot off the gas like they have. But yeah, I would be quite happy to see any like the back five with Hume in there, or where we go with Traore in there. But I would like obviously Mundle. I don't think is going to be ready for a full 90. But if you can get an hour out of Mundle, that'd be great. But we just got to ease him back because he's going to be needed soon. But that midfield three worked, and I think Broby's got to start. Got to start now.
Is there an argument for because of the suspension side of it? I feel like Reggie's has sort of hinted at this in the past. I think it was the press conference during the week. I was listening to it at a really weird time in the morning, by the way, in Toronto. It's a bizarre thing watching games at 10 a.m. in the morning, press conferences at weird times. I don't recommend it. Not gonna lie, I'd recommend the holiday. I wouldn't recommend the timing of football games. It's very weird. But he kind of hinted that there'll be changes, and I feel like I don't know if it's the right or the wrong thing, and I don't know if he's gonna go right. Let's take Xhaka and Siddiqui out, the players that could be suspended for obviously a massive game, which could, if we get a positive result from that, this season goes from 100 to 1,000. Like he'll know, and the team will know how important that game is, and without Xhaka or Siddiqui, it's infinitely harder because even if you get Diarra back by that point, he's not going to be 100%. Is there an argument, Ross, to maybe bring in Dan Neil at that point? Do you think you'll be thinking that potentially? Just to maybe change things up, keep legs a bit fresh, and give lads who are going to probably need to play during the AFCON a few. Because it's like, it benefits, doesn't it? You bring in Dan Neil for one of the next two games. Jack Ryan said that you don't get booked. They're fit and ready for the derby, which is a winnable game at home. And then you've got the AFCON, and they've had a couple of games against top level opposition, and you know what they've got to offer, and you know how good or bad they are. Like you've got a bit more evidence behind it, rather than just like flinging them into games, which are going to be big games. I think Leeds away is a big game. Sorry, Leeds at home is a big game. So is there an argument that you maybe chuck in like I'm going to use Daniel as a prime example, but maybe Daniel.
I don't think you do that at Liverpool because the fact that they've still got that one game buffer at Liverpool, you kind of let them off. But yeah, I think you do it at City if they've still got one left. You don't risk it, in my opinion.
I agree on Broby though. I think Broby comes in. I think it's probably too soon for Mundle, but I've seen enough from Mundle today to make me think that he can definitely add stuff in the Premier League 100%. Ian, I want to ask you a quick question before I go on to listeners' questions. We'll get a couple of questions here for me, Soph, and Ross and whatnot. But I didn't see it in real time properly. I've obviously seen it back since, and I really wanted to mention it. I could mention the referee today an awful lot. I thought he was woeful for both teams at points. Yeah, the referee's getting bad, but one decision that he got spot on was that red card. I think that was shocking today. I think if he goes in with a little bit more force, he actually could really have hurt Sadiq. Have you seen Sadiq's lip?
No,
He's,
not
he's
seen it.
put it on Instagram. He's put a bust it. But when you watch it back, it's full intent. And from an experienced player like Lewis Cook, played for England, like that's just fucking shite. Like don't elbow people in the face, you dick.
It's just frustration, isn't it? I think it's got the better of him. And when it first happened, I saw him go down. I thought, I know we're trying to kill the game here. Xhaka's won us a really soft free kick. You just use all of his experience just to back in, get a free kick, and then obviously Sadiqi's come in to try and nick it away from Cook, and as he's gone past him, you can just see he's just lifted it in real time. You don't really see it, but then the more you watch it, you're just like, yeah, he's absolutely tried to do him there. And I was sort of trying to entertain a 3-year-old with television and sort of keep an eye on the match as well. So I was just not really seeing what happened in real time, but then it was naughty, like not really what you want to see from what they say season of professional over a little Noah. But did you see what Noah did after the penalty, by the way?
No.
So when the penalty got given, obviously the Bournemouth players were surrounding the referee, screaming and shouting. Sadiq just got the ball and walked off instead of Enzo picking it up because he was going to take it. Sadiq just took it, so Enzo was just not bothered by them. So they'd obviously think Sadiq was taking it and giving him a bit, but he'd just taken the ball away just to give Enzo. And I mean, it's things like that. He's a 20-year-old kid and he's just got like Xhaka's obviously in his ear and said, "This is what we do. We look after each other." And he's just gone, "Well, I'll just take all the pressure off him. I'll just hold the ball. He doesn't need to worry about it." If you see him stood over the spot with the ball in his hand, you know what's going to happen, but he was just stood. He just took the ball straight away and just went off with it.
For what it's worth, best penalty today I've seen from a Sunderland player since Nicky Summerby in the 1998 playoff final. What a fucking penalty that was.
Do you know what the best thing about it was? When you watch the highlights, when it hits the back of the net, the water droplets kicking up off the net
Oh,
in the top corner. I watched it and I rewound it. I watched it 3 times. Probably one of the best things. But yeah, Nicky Summerby's penalty was good. Mickey
aesthetically
Gray's wasn't.
pleasing. Mickey Grace was not alongside his commentary job. Ross, these
Can I
sorry,
quick?
something you want to
Sorry.
say? Yes, you
Yeah,
can.
it is. How the fuck did we miss like 4 penalties in a row with Enzo Lafay was in the team last season and just didn't think, oh well, you know what? Why don't we give Lafay the penalties? It was just the madness, and I literally he played at Burnley where he took twice. The
Burnley.
Millwall game, he was in the squad.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was another one as well. I'm sure he missed like 4 in a row.
Sheffield United he wasn't.
No,
And
Sheffield
then there
United he wasn't.
I can't remember the other one when he missed the pen. There
I'm
was
sure.
someone missed a pen and it was Wilson because it was Wilson missed two. Because we missed 4 or 5 last season, didn't we?
Yeah, Luke.
Luke O'Nien, Patrick Roberts at Sheffield United, and Wilson at Burnley.
Was there not one more? I thought there was one more near the end.
Mm. That was Luke O'Nien, wasn't it? I missed that
It was
one.
It
09.
might have been.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that
that
was
was
Luke.
two. So 3 penalties missed where Lafay just watched it being taken, and he's now our designated Premier League penalty taker. But I just thought I'd mention that because I was thinking that the day.
There's one question here about Enzo actually. Is he nailed on central midfield starter after that performance, Ross?
I think that's like I mentioned about the squad depth and the amount of versatility that Labrise has got, changing things, but it's his best performance in the central midfield area. I think there's been a few questions about him, like his physicality around it, and obviously we know he's very technical player, but he's not like Sadiq who can get across the pitch. He's not like Xhaka who looks like an absolute brick. But today was the best he'd been at getting into the pockets of spaces in the middle whilst he's in that area. And I feel like at times on the left it helps him because he can hug the touchline and getting the ball that way. Whereas he's always got somebody onto him in the central area, especially when it is hard in the Premier League, I think, to be a 10 if you're not like David Silva, you know what I mean? Like jinky in and out. He's very different that. But what I was really impressed with Lafay today as well is obviously his deliveries were great. He put a lot of, well, he had one where he hit the first man out of fume and went first half. But other than that, his delivery for Bobby's goal was near about the same kind of delivery for the Ballard header. It just like dipped into the middle. And like if he can add that to his repertoire as well as being our penalty taker, then his stats at the end of the season are going to look really good for goals and assists.
It's funny you said that about the corner. I've just remembered how much of a dickhead that lad was that dove just before we got the corner. Like he sort of like 4 yards away from the ball, he like dove. Now my head went, "We'll score from this because like life gets you back." That's just the way it works, and that was quite funny. But I thought Bournemouth were quite whingy today, but I don't want to talk about it too much because I felt like they were a good team, and ultimately like that's the main thing I got. But I felt alongside the elbow and stuff towards the end, they were like moaning on. Like they wasted about a minute and a half trying to take a free kick towards the end just because they wouldn't take it from the right spot. If that's your team, you're going fucking mental. Just take it from the right spot. The ref told him like 4 times. Their goalkeeper got booked for time wasting when they're getting beat.
Do you know what, though? We mentioned about like our culture being embodied by like Labrisa's calmness and Xhaka's determination.
Oh, I know what you're going to say here, and you're right.
Areola was a prick. Like,
Aye.
I think he's a great manager for what he's done, but he went on like an absolute bell end. And I'm sure when we scored, one of our coaches ran up towards their dugout, and I was like, "You don't do that unless you're a prick." You know what I mean? If they've been a prick, then they deserve it. He's done great, but yeah, I don't know what it was about today. Like, supposedly he said in his pre-match conference that he wanted it to be 3-3 so
So
he
you
could
could
slag
moan
the
more,
referee off more.
which is basically doing it anyway, you tit.
Yeah, you're doing it. It's just, no, aye. He's a great manager,
Yeah.
but I think he was a dick today, and I think like that the way he went on embodied the way they didn't need to do it either, especially 2-0 up. They didn't need to change anything, and yeah, it's just
I'd
weird.
never want to go back to League One. I prefer to stay out of the Championship. But if there's little things I miss from it, it's like proper football, people that don't whinge about every little like thing. And there's little parts like refereeing decisions, Bruno Fernandes trying to referee the game over at Old Trafford, all that little bits of shit that just do my head in and make me realise like I don't like this league on paper, but I like being good in it. There's a couple more. One is how big is Granit Xhaka's balls? Huge. Huge. Oh, good one actually. I like this one. Sophie, where does Diarra get into the team? I think there's an argument that the squad game's big, but I understand the question based on today's performance. Where do you put Diarra when he's fit?
I think I'd rather answer the question about Shaka's balls, to be fair.
Feel free.
Disclaimer, I haven't seen them. We haven't got a situation going on here. No, but what a nice headache for Reggie to have.
What the
What a nice
side
headache.
of Granite's balls?
Oh, yeah, exactly. You see, hey, it's his birthday next week.
It is, it is.
Might whip them out for him. No, I think it's a nice selection headache for Lebret to have because Diarra, our record signing, I thought he was brilliant at the start of the season, but now there is an argument that actually, currently, the midfield three that we've got are performing really well, and that doesn't change until it stops working. You know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So that's my piece on that. But it's hard, isn't it? Because then do you move Enzo out on the left? And I like to see him in the middle. Like today, he was fantastic in the middle. And I think he offers more for us.
I think this is the benefit. We could discuss Broby or Wilson on my ender, Diarra or whoever, Lefay when Diarra's back, Alderete at the back or Makalele and Ballard at centre half, Hertruda at right back, Hume at right. You could argue loads. That's the really good thing about like the team. They all deserve a place, and it's based on form. It's like the shirts are available. Who wants it? Like I had no issue with Trey Hume getting dropped today, not because he was poor, but I'm happy with Nordy at right back, and I'm happy with Alderete at left centre back. But now I'm like, well, no, Hume came on and made a difference, so I think Hume goes back in. And I'm like, I'm happy with Nordy going on the bench. It doesn't mean I hate Nordy. I'm just quite happy for us to have all these different options and they all give us something solid. Like I don't think the squad's ever been as strong in my lifetime. I mean, we've got a £24 million winger there that I forgot existed, if I'm honest, in Adingra. And I think Adingra's a great player. I think Cleary doesn't quite have maybe the work ethic that Reggie's maybe wants. Doesn't quite offer as much defensively, but came on against Arsenal, played really well. I certainly don't think his future's like in doubt, a clouded or anything. It's just a squad game. And there's a lot of players that can come in. And I still say I think '09 will come back in and do something at some point. And hopefully it's a positive. But I really like this last question. I think it's quite a thoughtful one. And I like this. So I'm going to give it to you, Ian. You're going to get the final word, mate. Sort of. Does Tony Mowbray deserve more credit than he's given? This is from Tony. Said he's came in and said what kind of team Sunderland fans liked and needed. And now you hear Kirill Louis-Dreyfus and Reggie Slibris sort of parrot what he said. Was it Tony Mowbray that originally brought Sunderland back to its soul, and does he deserve a bit more credit? I think that's a great question.
Possibly, you could argue that he walked so we could run. He's laid the foundations, hasn't he? If you think about it, not something I'd ever thought about, to be fair. But
Yeah,
was
me
it
either.
Actually Tony Mowbray that wrote the tweet, or was it somebody else who happened to be called Tony?
No, it was Tony. I don't know his surname. Tony Bang, but let's
Uh,
assume it's Tony Mowbray. No, it's not.
Tony Bang Mowbray. If he was a
Doesn't
fighter, that would be his nickname.
doesn't
Um,
doesn't look like him. So I'm gonna say no.
no, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, he sort of got the fans to love that particular style of football, and when it wasn't that after him under Beale, and then it definitely wasn't that under Dodds, we sort of had a little bit of it back in the early days under Reggie when we won the first 5 games of the season. We conceded once, and I think that's why we get frustrated because we pulled teams apart at the start of last season, and then we just sort of played it safe. I felt like we played it safe a little bit too much. I mean, it was a master plan because it worked. Because look where we are now. So I think, yeah, I'd say that's a decent shout to give Mowbray a bit more credit. And to touch on what you were saying just a little bit earlier as well, totally unrelated. Isn't it mad to think that we're like, oh, we can leave Mukiele out, or we
Yeah,
can leave Ballard on the bench or Alderete, and then I'm just looking back to saying to Wembley in the playoff final when it was Jack Baldwin and Tom Flanagan centre half, and that was it.
poor
Nothing
fun.
against either of them; they're both nice lads.
They are.
Yeah, I'm sure, but
But I
yeah, it
think
was.
to be fair to them, they probably largely agree. You look at the quality in the team now; it's night and day from the stuff we've saw. But like to go back to the Mowbray thing, I like that. I do sort of agree. I think he kick-started. If you're talking about the 5-year plan, I feel like he kick-started stuff with Sunderland. And whilst it wasn't perfect, like I really enjoyed the time under Mowbray. I think it's some of the best football we've seen played. I think people won't want to hear it. People won't like it. I think Alex Neil's got to get a hell of a lot for being just a functional manager. That just got us out of the dog that was League One. And then Mowbray kind of like upped it immediately. And then Reggie's just coming in. It's like expectations are there. We've seen the potential. That was what we could do kind of around that Mowbray time in that season. And Reggie's just come in and fine tuned it, and the recruitment's kind of helped that as well. So I think they've all played a part, apart from maybe Beale, who decided to try and kick it 5 years back. But I think there's a lot of people that deserve credit within this story, but probably none more so than, if I'm honest, in my opinion, Reggie Slibris. But look, we'll be doing a preview for Liverpool. Then City's obviously coming up, so like that's my job and my hands full this week. Like my holiday's well and truly fucking over. But Ross, Liverpool, how do you play it? Go for it. Sit
Go for
back.
it, yeah. Go for it. They, I don't think they've ever lost so many at home in a row. I watched them against PSV the other night, and defensively, fuck me, they were awful, like really bad. They
Hmm.
lost 4-1 at home, and I watched that and I turned it off, and I was like, that generally could have been 6 or 7. Like it really was bad. They've got unbelievable players. I'm not saying it's going to be a walk in the park. A point would be a tremendous result. But at this stage, where we're at, it gives us freedom to, yeah, just, let Reggie do his thing. When you get chances, take them and just, defend your box. And definitely they'll have a go. It reminds me a bit of when we went to Chelsea, where we knew Chelsea had a few injuries at the time and they were struggling a bit at the back. But we knew they could be really good going forward, which they showed, they got an actual goal after 2 minutes. We were like, oh, bloody hell. But have a go, and if we get beat, having a go, nobody will care because we've got that much credit in the bank now where we can go to these games with no pressure and give it a go.
There's nothing that's going to happen in the games against Liverpool and Man City that's not going to make me and another 48,500 Sunderland fans be well up for the next home game. So I'm kind of with it. I think be cautious. Like, don't be gung ho. Watch what you're doing. But there's nothing in this league that really makes me fear it, if I'm completely honest. There's no team. Because I think it's the worst that you can do. Liverpool beat us at home. Okay, sound. So I don't really have that. But Ian, I'll ask the same question to you. How would you like to see us set up? Well, not set up. How do you play
I,
it?
I don't want to see what we did against Man United, where we just thought we can go and just out football them because they are in a bad run. But if you look through the team, realistically, if you were to position for position rather, like would any Sunderland player get in their team? On paper, probably not. There'd be an argument somewhere that someone maybe could because of X reason or Y reason, but they've got good footballers and they walked the league last year with a worse team than they've got now, realistically. I just don't go and be too open, but we need to be clinical if we get chances, and we will get chances. I mean, that's the thing that you can pretty much put your house on. Like, they will give away chances because defensively they're just absolutely shocking. And, a very Sunderland thing to happen would be them to turn it on and win 5 or 6-0. But it doesn't feel like, and I hope I don't eat my words here, it doesn't feel like that kind of thing happens to this Sunderland team. I mean, today, 2-0 down after 16 minutes, and we're all buzzing, talking about a win. So it can be done. I just don't want to be open. I'd be nice and compact, and then no one likes running back towards their own goal. So just give them something to think about. Talby, Isidore, possibly, but I think Broby deserves his chance to start now. You can see he's big, he's strong. People won't like playing against him. I don't think Virgil van Dijk and Kanate certainly won't like playing against him.
Not in the form we've had recently, no. Sophie, I'll let you have the final word. I said it was going to be Ian, but it's going to be you, clearly. How would you approach Wednesday? Same as Ross, Ian, or kind of go cautious and see what we can get?
It's a free hit, isn't it? It's a free hit. No one would have said at the start of the season, hey, let's go to Liverpool and try and beat them in their own backyard. So let's go and be our usual selves. Let's go and be disciplined. Let's be composed. You know what? I would personally go, let's go back five. We'll try and hold them off as long as we can, and we'll hit them on the counter, shock them. Because their form's not forever. They're in bad form at the moment. Things might change. But I think if we can go, and I would take a point. I am going to Anfield, so I would prefer we don't get tonked 5 or 6-0. But it's the risk I'm willing to take to go and support my team. So let's go and have a go if we can. But let's try not to get beat.
I feel like that's the thing, though. There's been times when you wouldn't buy taking away game midweek because you're like, do I want to just piss my money at the wall here? You can't really miss games now because you never know what like phenomenal, memorable Sunderland performance you're going to get. But look, now fears me in this league, if I'm honest. And I'm however many games into the league season we are now, I don't have a fear. If we lose, oh well, we lost at Liverpool. It's not the worst case scenario. But look, a great day, great performance. I feel like I say it every single week. For me, the best win of the season, the most enjoyable outside of the weather. And I think I still feel there's more to come. I don't think this is a one-off. I think there's more to come, and it's just, I say it every week, but pleasure to do it. Ian, Sophie, Ross, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Away the lads.
Bobby, Bobby, Bobby.